So moved.
Then all in favor of approving the minutes of the January 20th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We've approved the minutes. Our next item of business is approval of the HRA agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is a public hearing and consideration of a resolution authorizing the sale of 7308 10th Avenue to Endress Custom Homes and a contract for private development with Endress Custom Homes for the construction of a single-family home under the Richfield Rediscovered program. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Stark for a staff report.
Thank you, Chair Supple. And actually, I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Director Barton to give the staff report. I'm going to put some graphics up while she does that.
Thank you, Chair Supple and HRA members. Andres Custom Homes is applying to purchase the Housing and Redevelopment Authority's lot at 7308 10th Avenue, and they're planning to construct a new single-family home on the lot, which will be a two-story home with 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and an attached 3-car garage. The new home will be approximately 2,100 square feet and will have an end value exceeding $360,000. The HRA acquired the 75-foot property and structure on it in 2014 for $94,000. The structure was substandard and was removed from the property. The subsequent appraisal of the vacant lot is $58,000. Under the terms of the contract, the $58,000 will be paid at closing by Andres Construction. And the builder is also proposing to build the house to achieve the Minnesota Green Path certification. And assuming that he does meet that certification, he will qualify for an additional $5,000 credit through our program. Dustin Endress from Endress Construction Homes is here this evening if you have any questions of him, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have as well.
All right, do any of the commissioners have any questions?
I'd like to.
Okay, go ahead. Mr. Endress, did you have anything you wanted to present? If you have any questions, Commissioner Rubenstein?
Before the meeting, a beautiful home. My biggest concerns, I had 2 concerns. Number 1 is it's huge. And we need bigger houses, but it's so out of keeping with the rest of the neighborhood. I don't know if we have any neighbors here who are concerned with that thing. In a positive side for that is that it might encourage some of the neighbors to expand their own homes to, just realize that their homes are on a piece of property that really could take more house than is currently on it. And my second concern was the 3-car garage, the way it's truly just spread out 1, 2, 3, and that really is, to me, it's somewhat unsightly. 2-car garages are not standard, but more, common in Richfield for sure, especially if they're attached. And I was just thinking if perhaps the builder or the owner, the future owner, might think about reconsidering that profile by making it stacked or something like that, that you can drive in 2 and then 1 next to it, or make it just double deep, just to soften the profile of the street profile.
Mr. Enders, just a couple questions. It's my understanding that you already have a prospective owner, correct?
This one here, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so I mean, you've worked with the design, and this is something that collectively you put together, and this is what he wants?
Correct, and this is a similar house to what we built at 7221 Logan Avenue.
Right, I was gonna say that when you were before us before, and when you're constructing both of those and post-construction, I have an opportunity, I drive by all the time, and you know, it's my perspective and my worldview may be different than yours, Commissioner, but at least in terms in that neighborhood, they don't seem outside. I think the 75-foot lot is one reason they don't seem outside, because the lot is a little bit bigger and it fits proportionally on the lot. And I know that we had some differences of opinions earlier on some of them, but from my perspective, the homes you've put up there are great, and they're a great addition to the neighborhood. Right. And I like the looks of this, and I'll drive by, but the 75-foot lot, from my perspective, gives you the ability to maybe expand it out a little bit, still stay within the setbacks and everything. And so it's proportional to the lot, and I don't think it's going to have a negative impact on the neighbors. And like you're saying, though, I think a lot of them will look at it and say, maybe I can upgrade a little bit.
Yeah,
on
it
my
has
home
its
also.
pluses and its minuses.
Right.
Yeah, and we're not maxing out the side yard setbacks either. And the garage is about 20 feet from the front wall of the house, so it's set back 20 feet.
It is setback.
So you
Okay.
can see right on the side view of the house there, where the front of the garage is. So it is set back a ways. So we did take that into consideration. We put a jog in the wall as well, and added that extra detail to the roof line to separate it, so it's not just a straight wall right across there. And the reason that we keep the garage off to the side like that is we're trying to build an older design home where the garages were added on after, and so the garage isn't incorporated into the house, because we're trying to build a home that is just a house, like a 1900s era home, where it's just a house and the garages were added on after. So it separates the garage from the house. That's kind of the mindset behind it. Here's a floor plan elevation too.
Thank you. It wasn't real evident to me as I was looking at the plans or the photos. Okay.
Okay.
So since this is a public hearing, is there anyone in the audience who would like to comment? All right, this is with regard to 7308 10th Avenue, so if you would like to comment on that, you could come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and then write it down on the sheet on the clipboard. And then once you begin speaking, you'll have 3 minutes.
Yeah, my name is Ruth Ann Clay. I live at 7301 10th Avenue. And all of the houses on our block where this proposed house is to go are all ramblers, no basement. And to stick a 2-story house in that block just seems to be totally unfit for the area. So I'm just kind of curious why they have to put in a 2-story house and why they can't put a rambler in.
Okay. Excuse me, you still have more time. I hit the wrong button on the timer. So go ahead.
No, I'm just, it just doesn't seem appropriate for the block to
Okay.
suddenly have a 2-story house, and none of the houses have basements in them. So they're California ramblers.
Mhm.
So I don't know, it just seems totally unfit for the location it's going. So I wish it would be something different. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And did you write your name down on the, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to comment?
I'm Don Clay of the same residence as Ruth Ann. Again, I just do not believe we want something that stands out of a multi-story. I don't care if it has a basement because that's not visible, but having a 2-level area is not acceptable, in my opinion, when all the houses north and south do not until you get to the very end of the north side of 10th Avenue and 74th. I'm sorry, 72nd. And since there's not enough trees to cover, that makes also a big issue in my opinion. So it just makes it stand out. And so I'm sorry I didn't see all the plans. That I just saw the last screen showing it being 2-story, and that's it. So thank you very much for hearing me. I'm just finishing writing my information.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment? Mr. Endres, thank you.
We originally did try to do a Rambler here with another buyer, but when we went to do a pre-appraisal, there was no way that we were going to get an appraisal because the cost of building a home and the cost just to get a 3-bedroom home, which are in the Richfield guidelines, we have to have a 3-bedroom home. Just the cost to do that is upwards of $300,000, and there's nothing that we could have. There's nothing in Richfield that we could comp against to get an appraisal. So we did try that route. It didn't work. So we went with the 2-story, and the HRA agrees with our design for the 2-story. We're doing the best we can with kind of putting more square footage on the main floor and less above on the second floor with this design. There's 1,100 square feet on the main floor and 800 on the second floor. So it is not a true 2-story stack. So we have been looking at that, but we're also trying to build homes that people want and that will be good inventory for Richfield in the future. So that's kind of how we got to this. Because, yeah, we understand that there's Ramblers on that block, but and they have no basements, but Richfield Rediscovered requires a basement, of course. And so not only that, eventually those properties will eventually get redeveloped at some point in time as well. It's just a matter of time. So that's just kind of, and that's also where the HRA wants to take it, is with 2 stories too. That's my understanding anyways. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to comment before we close the hearing? At that point then, we will close the public hearing, and thank you for everyone who has commented. Does the staff have anything else they would like to add?
No, I have nothing additional at this time.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any other comments or questions before we decide on the matter?
Yeah, I would just add that I appreciate the residents that have some concerns about keeping some uniformity in the neighborhood and everything, but I think like Mr. Enders says that when that block was built and the surrounding blocks were built, the financing and the economics were a little bit different on what was an affordable house and what you could build for the population that was going to live there. I think what Mr. Enders is telling us is our own guidelines dictate a certain amount of what has to go in order to make that affordable, and at the same time to get some sort of profit for the builder. You're going to have to maybe break the mold a little bit. And I think that one of the things we're looking for is diversity in the homes that are available to people that are moving here. And this, when we have an open block like this, what we need to do is add something that may be a little bit out of the ordinary, just so somebody driving through can see it and recognize that Richfield has a wealth of options in terms of housing. And we do this by having people such as Mr. Enders build a house. And I think what you'll find is he talked about the houses he built on 72nd and Logan, and I go by that neighborhood a lot. And there's nothing in those 2 blocks, 72nd to 73rd on both sides of Logan, that is similar to the houses he built. Beg your pardon? I know, but I'm talking about having a similar neighborhood that didn't have 2-story homes similar to the type that Mr. Enders built. And they don't stand out and they're fine. And I think after a while, once you get there, you're going to find out it really doesn't detract from your neighborhood either.
Can I'd like to add something to
Commissioner
that.
Rubenstein?
I live on Emerson between 65th and 66th, and one of the first Richfield rediscovered homes was built on our block. Our block is almost entirely 1.5-story houses, and the first house that was built was a very large 2-story house, and everybody was just horrified, and they've turned out to be fabulous neighbors and split an additional lot that was available with, in between their house and the next house down. There was an empty lot, and they split that lot so that both homes had 1.5 lots to them, and these people have put in fruit trees, and it's just been added so much beauty, really landscaped their land in front of the house. It's sort of point of pride for the block now to have this beautiful home. So, at first glance, it was a shock. Hopefully it becomes an asset.
I guess at this point, I'm happy that the developer is looking at trying to mitigate that by having more floor space on the first floor. I do think it has been one of the goals of the redevelopment to try and have options for families that are growing to move up within Richfield, to not have to move out to other suburbs, so we can keep people here in the community. And so I think that also, so we're trying to balance both of those concerns, listening to what you said and trying to design it so it looks better in the neighborhood, but also providing an opportunity for others who want to stay in town to move into houses within Richfield and not have to leave the community. At this point, if there are no other questions, I think we're ready to make a decision. Does anyone have a motion?
I'll move to accept the proposal.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved to approve a resolution authorizing the sale of 7308 10th Avenue to Endress Custom Homes Incorporated, and to authorize the execution of a contract for private development between the Housing and Redevelopment Authority and Endress Custom Homes for the redevelopment of 7308 10th Avenue. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so we have passed this action. Thank you to everyone who came to the public hearing and expressed their opinion on the matter. Moving on, are there any HRA discussion items? Hearing none, we'll go to the Executive Director's report. Mr. Stark?
Yeah, and you may have heard this already. If so, just bear with me. I believe in front of the chair, at the edge of the dais, there should be a red dot. You see that somewhere? No.
A red dot.
I thought there was. Oh, is it by Doris, maybe?
A red dot.
Well, don't push the...
I know, but remember the button
You
pushed
seeing
by
some?
accident? Split the screen right here. I think it's under.
Ooh,
I don't
sorry.
see a red dot, but don't.
No,
don't
that's,
push it.
I
Okay.
didn't touch it, but
So just making sure people know, so there's switches underneath the edge of the dais, and those are panic buttons. That if, and we did run into this once at an HRA meeting a couple of years ago, where there was somebody that was pretty agitated over a Habitat for Humanity house, of all things. And, you know, so if there's ever an occasion that you feel somebody's being a potential threat to yourselves or to staff or to others in the audience, pushing that will signal dispatch to send an officer into the room. So I just want to make sure you were aware of that. And maybe after the meeting here, we'll take a look and make sure we know where they're all at.
okay.
I know there's one
There's
over
one
by
here.
Commissioner
Yeah.
Rubenstein, and there's one also
Yeah.
over there. Hopefully, we won't need to use that.
Hopefully,
but
but
it's
I
good to know
just
it's
want to
there.
make sure you knew that they were there.
Given the events and I believe, where was it?
New Hope.
In New Hope.
Push comes to shove, we always got Tom in the back of the room, so.
Well, I don't think it's a concern right now, but given what happened in New Hope, it's
Yes.
probably good to know about
Yes.
that.
But that's the only thing I have to report.
All right, then, we also have claims and payroll.
I move that we accept their report.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the claims and payroll report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we've accepted that. Seeing that we have no further business, we stand adjourned.